Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Improper Mimi. It is I, your host, Mimi Jax, and we are back today, and it's going to be a little bit different. We like to talk and touch on different topics. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about your career, all right? And then I also want to let you guys know that we are getting ready to wrap up season 4, but don't worry, I actually have something in store for you guys this fall. So it's going to be a little different. I'll tell you more about that later. But right now, I want to introduce you and tell you who our guest is for today. So today we are going to be talking with Kandice Whitaker, and she is the CEO of Alpha and Omega Consulting. She is a career coach. She is a podcaster. She is woman extraordinaire. And when I met her, I just loved her energy, and I was so excited to get to bring her to meet you guys as well. So Candice, I want to ask you, can you tell us a little bit about what it is you do and why you love it so much?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Mimi, for having me. We met just a couple of weeks ago at the
Yeah.
Black is Tech conference, and that was an example of Candace just trying something new.
Nice.
So that's something that I do throughout my life, and that's kind of how I landed on the life that I have today.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you mentioned, I am CEO of Alpha and Omega Consulting, and that is an IT consulting company where we basically work in the change management space.
Mm-hmm.
Anything related to change, training, design, anything you need to get your product out and to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to use it, that's the stuff that we do.
Nice.
How did I get there? Well, that wasn't a linear path.
As it often is not with our lives, right?
It is not. Life is not a linear path, and
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing that I want to impart to not only your listeners, but to everybody, I feel like my life's calling is to have people understand that you need to just understand that this is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Take life as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as you learn on your journey, you'll get more information to help you along your path. So, to answer your question,
Yeah.
how did I get there? Well, let's start with the fact that 18-year-old Candace started college as a music major,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
A music major,
You often don't know
completely
things about
different.
people until you take the time to ask them. So yeah, so started as a music major.
Yeah, actually, only people who have known me for 20 plus years know this. I was an opera singer. Shout
Oh,
out to Purchase College.
okay, get out of
Yeah,
here.
I was in a conservatory.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tell people
Mm-hmm.
in coaching is that even though
Mm-hmm.
you may think training as an opera singer is completely unrelated to being an IT person who does
Yeah.
training and coaching, I will tell you that a lot of the skills that I learned, I use every day.
And I'm sure. Yeah.
Being able to present yourself,
Mm-hmm.
being able to walk in a room and command attention and authority without saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the intangible skills that when people look at you and say, "Wow, she's a leader." Kinda.
I know that you said, you're an introvert, and that's not to say that introverts cannot be leaders, because I think leadership is something that some people are just kind of born with it innately, but it takes practice. You have to learn. It's like a skill.
Leadership is a swag.
Mm-hmm.
It's a swag, and that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I learned how to do that as a singer
Yeah.
because nobody is gonna pay attention to a singer that's standing there with their shoulders slumped,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, those same skills that seemed like, "Why are you doing this?" at the time, obviously, the creator had a very specific plan for me and knew that I would need it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm here to explain that nothing is a waste of time. So
Right.
I started out as a music major,
Cool.
and that wasn't a good fit for me. Although I like to sing, I knew that that just was not the path for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between liking to sing and wanting to be a singer. Those are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this is a sidebar, but probably good information. What I learned in the conservatory of how to listen, how to critically listen to music kind of destroyed music for me in a way. Because most people can just listen and be like, wow, okay, that was great. And I listen and say, ooh, that was flat.
Oh, yeah.
"Ooh, your intonation wasn't good on that." It ruined
Mhm.
it for me. Like, I just can't sit there and enjoy mediocre singers, like, it ruined it.
Yeah. Now you're, like, analyzing things because once you know, then you're like, I can't shut that off. I know this is not right."
Exactly. So when you know, you know. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you the rest of my path. So after I graduated, I got a job as a music teacher. And
Okay.
I really liked that, but it just didn't pay a whole lot of money.
Mhm.
So I said to myself, that was like one of my first epiphanies, my quarter life crisis, right? So I was like 22-ish. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I had a
Mhm.
degree, I had a bachelor's degree, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was
Mhm.
married and I had 2 little kids, and I knew I needed to do something, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
I knew that I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I knew that about me. I always knew I wanted to have my own business. I just didn't know what it was, right? So I
Yeah.
said, "You know, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna get a master's degree. I'm gonna get MBA." So I did.
Mm, nice.
2 little kids, MBA school. I graduate with my MBA. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, "What am I gonna do?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "You know what? I will just apply for jobs." Why did I start applying for jobs? Because sometimes God has to push you into your destiny. The
Mhm.
job that I was very comfortable with as a music teacher, they were like, "Listen, we love you, but we don't know that we have the budget to hire you for next
Mhm.
year." And I was like, "Oh no, this will not be my portion. We need to have a steady paycheck, honey." So I
Right, we
started
wanna have
applying.
control over our destiny, right?
Right, yeah, no, baby, no.
Yeah.
So I got a job as a corporate trainer in an IT department. I literally knew nothing about this. Never heard of
Uh-huh.
it. That was not one of the job choices at the job fair growing up. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Boom. Mhm.
So I was a teacher. I figured I could be a trainer.
Yeah.
And literally, I doubled my salary. So let's talk
Right?
about that, right?
Right after that, I just stumbled into this and doubled the salary. Ooh.
I did. And I worked for a very prestigious institution. So then
Mhm.
my grandmother was telling people, "This is my granddaughter, and she works at Yale." Like, I didn't even have a name anymore.
Yeah,
She was
right?
telling her little friends, she was so proud. Grandma was proud.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot being there. I learned a lot about IT. I
Right.
transitioned from being a trainer to a
Mm,
business analyst, right? Because there's only so long that you can teach people how to click before you are actually working in the system. So
mhm.
we transitioned to that. And that was a whole toxic work environment. That's a
Mm,
whole different conversation for another day. But the skills I learned there, I still get paid on almost 20 years ago.
nice. Yeah. I tell people often, I'm like, when you learn something new, like they can't take that away from you. So
That
as
part.
your hunger for knowledge grows, just keep learning things. Keep your finger on the pulse. Know what's going on. Know what's new in the industry right now. Just know what's going on around you.
One of the things that well, let me just say this. I learned a lot being there. A lot.
Mhm.
A lot about myself, a lot about IT, but
Yeah.
also a lot about what I will and will not accept for the whole rest of my life,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Mhm.
So I have 2 thoughts colliding. Which one will I start with? The first one I will start with
We're gonna get them both. We're gonna get them both.
the first one that I will start with is that environment
Mm,
was very different from any environment I'd ever been in my life. So, and I'm gonna explain. Just in case you haven't caught the accent by now, I'm from New York, right? Born
mhm.
and raised.
Yeah.
And I moved to Connecticut, right? Which
Mm.
was 50 miles away from where I grew up. I had no idea that it would be like moving to a foreign country.
It definitely is not the city. Yes.
Connecticut is very strange. And if you're not accustomed to that, I
Mhm.
remember when I first started casually saying, because I really was just thinking out loud and almost in awe, like, wow, people speak English here all the time. Like, you don't hear anybody speak anything else.
Yeah. Mhm.
And somebody was like, what other language did they speak? I was like, the hell?
Mhm.
What's with the anger?
Yeah, we're just looking for diversity.
That's
We
all.
miss it.
But that right there, that was my whole experience in Connecticut.
Oh man. Were they
Right.
trying to put you in a box or just trying to like
You had 2 type of people for
mm,
in the seasoned diaspora in Connecticut, because I love my people.
yeah.
You have those who were assimilated
Mhm.
and trying very hard to assimilate. She, me, her, I don't assimilate.
Mhm.
That's a personal choice, but,
Yeah.
And then you have your cousins. You know the
And
ones you don't
them.
talk to, them.
Uh-huh.
There was no I was like, "Where are the regular black folks?"
Right. The ones right in the middle that can like a chameleon, like, hey, I could deal with you and I could deal with you too. Like, yes.
Yes. So, regular people. I'm not Jack and Jill Bread. I'm not Lynx. Just
Mhm.
standard issue American Negroes. Where are we?
Where's the party at? Where's the cookout? We're living life.
Right. The ones who can be regular. Yeah, we have our jobs, we put on our voice, and then, like, you play spades too.
Right.
You need to
Yeah.
be ambidextrous in that way. But that was good
Mhm.
because later on, I was a consultant and I
Mm.
was on the road.
Okay.
And I had to very quickly adapt to being in situations that were very different from what I was accustomed to. That
Mm.
experience made me understand and truly appreciate how different my upbringing was in New York.
Yes. Mhm.
We never talked about diversity. My high school, everybody was everybody. I had white friends, Asian friends, Indian friends. Like, that wasn't a thing.
Right.
I knew about racism as an abstract concept, but I can honestly say I'd never
Mm.
experienced it until I left home.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Now, see, and I grew up in Ohio, but I really was raised and spent like 30 years in Boston. So Boston is very kind of
Boston's
segregated,
mad racist.
clicky. Yes. You're right. You just go jump right in it. It's just
I
matter.
mean, we ain't got no
Right?
cut cards. I'm from New York. We don't like Boston anyway. Go
Hey,
Yankees.
hey. And I've been living in New York for the last 8 years, and I love New York, and I want to go back to live in Boston. But I love Boston. You know, it was very clicky. People would talk about the racism. I'm like, oh, well, I just didn't go over there. Like I went everywhere I wanted to go in Boston. I didn't really have too many issues. I think I probably encountered racism as a teenager more so in Ohio than in Boston. But we could definitely recognize and see the difference, from like the Northeast and from the South of it being right in your face or it being kind of like, hidden, and just something that you kind of be like, I think that was racist, or I think that guy's like, I didn't get that promotion because they're helping their buddy, they're bringing other white guys up instead of me, and I'm like, okay, so you kind of have to like detect it in Boston. I mean, it's there.
Don't get me started on the subtle racism of the northern white liberal. Don't
Mm,
get me started.
mm,
One
it's
of my friends who graduated from Yale calls it up south.
up south. That's a new one. I haven't heard of that, but it's there, and
It's a thing.
it's a thing, and it's kinda crazy because and I mean, I don't wanna go too far off on this racism thing because, right, you don't get us started. But, yeah, one of my, like, young nephews was like, "Oh, no, I don't think they meant that." And my me and my mom were like, yeah, yes, that was actually very deliberate, and they did know exactly what they were doing and how it would make you feel." You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah, yeah, we have to
White
know.
racism and black love is the reason that we still have a society.
Mm,
That
mhm.
benefit of the doubt right there.
Wow. Mhm. Yeah. That just to give it one more try or to maybe or, perhaps, let's give it maybe that's not what they meant and just give it another try. But that's done. That is so done. Like even when we're talking about our careers and your journey, so you definitely were able to see that at Yale. I'm sure of it. Like we said,
Baby.
Connecticut is so different from the city. So different. No diversity, you know. Yeah. So you kind of stick
Well,
out.
and that's the thing, they want everything on paper.
Mm, mhm.
right? So they wanna look good, they wanna make sure that everybody understands who they are or
Right.
who they want their image to be, but in terms of living up to what you profess,
Proof ain't in the pudding.
that part.
Right. Oh, man.
Another thing that I learned, and this was really important though, everybody talks about relationships at work. And I have a couple of episodes on my pod talking about relationships at work. The number one thing that I want people to understand related to relationships at work is don't assume that people at work are your friends.
You're not
They're
supposed to
not.
be. No, don't get stuck in that trap.
They're not. They're not. They're strategic alliances.
Mhm.
My litmus test is if we're still friends after we don't work together, all right, we're friends.
Right. Yeah.
But while we work together, you basically have like allies,
Mhm.
you have clear enemies,
Nemesis. I like to call them nemesises.
right?
I have a lot of those.
You have the neutral people,
Mhm.
but the enemy of my enemy is
My
my friend.
friend. That's right. Keep them close.
And you have to play it like that. And you have to understand that's what it is. I don't like playing games as a person in my life, but I
Mhm.
learned at 25 years old when I was
Oh,
put into this environment, baby, either you're going to play or you're going to get played.
right. Yeah. And that is a hard lesson to learn so early because if you think about it, we're still learning about ourselves, in those 20s, so to then realize that other people aren't who they say they are and they have an
Baby.
agenda. Oh my. Right.
And when I tell you 25-year-old Candace, who was so excited
Mm.
and pleased to be there in this department with a bunch of middle-aged white women who were just mad that I was there and couldn't understand why I was there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
the creator in his infinite mercy made me an only child. So guess what? I've been accustomed to riding dolo throughout my whole life. I don't need anybody's acceptance. I don't care if you don't like me. I'm going
Mhm.
to be over here right here in my cubicle minding my black business. If you want to
Mhm.
talk to me, cool. If not, that's cool too.
I hear you. Yeah.
They didn't know how to take me at all.
Oh, no. Yeah. They're like, "Huh, we're trying to, like, intimidate her. It's not really working. She's, like, maintaining her, dignity and doing what you gotta do." Because I know, like, for me, it was, like, by any means necessary. I actually had my daughter young. I was a senior in high school, took off a break over the summer, then I went to college in the fall, and then I started work right away after college. So I needed, like you say, you had a family, you were married, like you needed to get this job done. You need to figure out what it is that you wanted to do so that you could bring that money in and help with the family, right?
Exactly. I mean, I had our oldest daughter young as well. She was born when I was basically a senior in college. That's a different
Mhm.
conversation, but same thing.
Mhm.
Definitely needed to make sure that we had a steady income. But then let's really talk about this really quickly. Small
Right.
diversion.
Mhm.
Black people ain't really afraid to be broke because we've been broke before.
Right, like, "This is a little game. We're gonna see how far we can stretch this food into the end of the week." Like, "Let's do this. We got this."
I mean, you know the deal.
Yeah. You're like, I know, it's like no matter how much I make, I remember what those hard days were like, so
Baby.
I'm not afraid to, yes,
We don't
yeah.
be jumping out of windows and carrying on when they doing layoffs. That's other folks. We be like,
Yeah,
"I
yeah, right. Someone was just saying like, "Oh, what would you do if, you did get laid off like right now?" I was like, "Well, I'd take a 6 month, I'd take that severance. I would take, 6 months off. I might travel, live somewhere else. I would regenerate, I would
they
take it
don't
as
get
a
it."
blessing. Like, hey.
We're not the ones that jump out of windows and carry on. No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. We transition, like you say, change management. We are able to take something and make something else with it.
But that's where I learned resilience, right? I've
Mhm.
been resilient my whole entire life,
Mhm.
but previously, I was just called stubborn.
Yes, yes, hard-headed makes a soft behind. I heard that one a lot.
Hard-headed, stubborn, crazy, because
Mhm.
I was crazy enough to believe if it was something I really wanted to do, I was gonna do it, and I didn't care what other people said.
Yeah, yeah. You would find a way to do it.
That's that on that. Y'all drag me up in church every Sunday, and y'all told me I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Guess who believed it?
Facts, yes.
I tell everybody I was abused. My mother was Seventh-day Adventist. That means they went to church on Saturday, and my father was AME, so we went to church on Sunday. I was saved, okay? Church all weekend,
Forward,
every
backwards, up
weekend,
and down.
and then y'all wonder why I believe. I know in whom I have believed.
It absolutely, and it ain't a joke, like, it's facts. You're right. It becomes ingrained in you that I can do anything, you know? If I want my boss's job, I could do it. I could take it, like
That part.
right.
That part. But so let's really talk about that.
Yeah.
So, to go back just for a second, my relationships at work that I built with
Mm,
my alliances is how I was able to transition into eventually taking my boss's job. Long story short,
mhm,
when I was at the university, it was super toxic. I had a bunch of people telling me what I wasn't, who I couldn't be. I thought too much of myself, all of these kinds of things. Whatever.
right. Yeah.
We already talked about how I feel about that. But then the Lord made a way.
Mhm,
I One of my allies became
mhm.
my boss.
Okay, yeah.
Boom.
Mhm,
So then the conversations when Candace wasn't in the room shifted from what she couldn't do, what she was too
mhm,
young to do, to, well, Candace has been doing this now for 5 years. And Candace has led this project. And Candace is super great at that.
mhm.
So that led to me being able to get training,
Yes.
thousands of dollars worth of training and development and certifications that they sent me to get,
Mhm.
that I still feed my family off of to this day.
Right. People don't realize sometimes those things you learn in the workforce can be used in your life for
That part.
other jobs and other consulting or entrepreneurship. Use that information, right? It's in there.
Listen, what I tell folks is I like to talk real. You know, you're improper, Mimi.
Mm-hmm.
On bail yourself out, my whole vibe is happy hour. So I talk how we talk. No
Same.
code switching here. I talk how we talk. You got to pimp these hoes.
Yeah.
Use them same skills that you would use trying to play somebody's ashy son or daughter. That ain't gonna make you no money.
Mm-hmm.
And take what you can get, all of it,
Right.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just like a squirrel, stack your nuts.
Get them nuts. That's right.
Get them nuts. And the quickest way to get your boss's job is
What
to
is
get you another one.
ooh. Okay,
That'll
let's
get you a
break
raise
that
and a
down.
promotion.
Yeah, so to get another one somewhere else or like get another one within the same organization, like sometimes people do zigzag. Like, so what let's break that down. Yeah.
That's a great question. You know, I really don't think there's a linear path. It
Mhm.
really depends on the organization.
Right.
This particular organization that I'm talking about, it wouldn't have been beneficial for me to stay and get my boss's job just
Mhm.
because of how the grade system was set in terms of pay. I would have gotten more money,
Yeah.
but the aggravation of being with them same people was not worth it for me.
Mhm.
Periodically, I'll say I need a new set of white people. And I said what I said. Mhm. So for me, that
Uh-huh.
looks like a new company. Like,
Uh-huh.
no, I need a new set of people. And it's so bad. At this point, I've had so many jobs. I start merging people's name. Is that Melissa? No, that was the last job. What's this lady's name?
Uh-huh. This one is an advocate, that one's a, sponsor, but, like, this one's just a pain in the butt, but, like, they may not even have names. They just have descriptors.
Exactly. Like, and you know what? After a while, it doesn't even matter. At the end of the
Mm,
day, you need to understand who's who in the zoo.
mhm. What they can and cannot do for you.
That
Right.
part.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Take what you need and bounce.
right. Yeah. I
I'm pausing because somebody said something very inappropriate on my pod that I was like, "Oh, I was
Inappropriate,
about to say that. No,
improper.
don't say that." So I was just about to say that. I cramped up right there.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, you talked about sponsors, those people who will advocate for you when you're not in the room,
Mhm.
those people who will speak well of you when you're not around, right? There
Mm,
is no better friend than a sponsor.
right. Because when you're not in the room, what they're saying can impact your path. It can't dictate everything about your path because you have, input and decision on that, but they can help, guide and see how that flow goes, by putting your name down. Yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely. And people talk about mentors a lot, and I definitely believe in mentorship. I'm a person who mentors people. But the thing that people don't talk about is I don't believe it is beneficial to
Hmm.
get only mentors who align with your goals and your vision and really like, love, and trust you. You got to get some mentors that you don't really like and they kind of piss you off.
They're going to dig in there, right?
Right. Because they're going to show you your blind spots.
Hmm.
And even though you may not agree with all of their feedback, I literally just came out of a season with a mentor that a couple of times I was like, this, who you?
Hmm.
But it gave me insight into how other people who think like her would view
Right.
me.
Hmm.
And how would I approach that?
Mm. Yeah. I know my boss had some information to give me the other day, some feedback she received on me. And in my head, I was like, who said that? But, like, I know that's wrong. But you're right. It gives you insight into what other people either perceive or what they're saying about you. And I was like, okay, I got something for you. You want me to drive results? I'm gonna drive right over you.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about feedback.
Yes.
I think feedback is important,
Mm-hmm.
but the conversations that we don't have, especially related to the workplace, is that feedback is biased. It is implicitly biased. And
Mm-hmm.
as a person who has been given feedback that I know was strategically aimed to humble me,
Mm-hmm.
understand that when you're having a conversation with a leader, especially somebody that you work with on a daily basis, a lot of the times their feedback is pointed. And there has
Mm-hmm.
to come a point where you say to yourself, okay, am I going to subject myself to a lifetime of biased feedback from a person I don't respect? Or am I going to take my ball and go home?
All right.
Because that's an option.
Right. You always have an option. Yes. Yes.
There are always options. You
Mm.
know, as a person who recently came out of the closet as a elder millennial, I definitely identified as a Gen X. I was like, I'm not a millennial. Yes, I am.
You're on the
I'm a
cusp.
millennial. I am. I'm right on the cusp. I have a lot of millennial traits. But the problem is the stuff these folks who got raised on hugs and time out,
Uh-huh.
and we got whoopings. See, I still got whoopings.
Yes,
We
that.
were crazy. But
Very
we
much.
are with the fight the power, right? So as an elder millennial, we are the ones that started with, we're not taking y'all foolishness.
Mhm.
And by the way, you ain't giving us nothing no more. Wages have been stagnant since the 70s.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
don't get a pension and a gold watch. What the hell are we
Mhm.
staying here for? We out.
Yeah. I literally thought, like, right out of school. I'm like, oh, I'm only going to stay with this company 2, 3 years. I stayed there 14 years, but it was towards that end because they kept boom, boom. I was moving. I was like, okay, this is great, you know. But once it started getting stagnant, once you could see, I went back to school later. I got my MBA. Once I could see that didn't mean anything to them. They weren't gonna, reward me for that. No promotion, no raise. There was no growth in the company. When you start hitting that ceiling where you're not going anywhere, it was time to go. I knew I had to go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
It is absolutely time to go. For me, I stayed okay, let me be very clear. When I got my first job at 25 with a pension
Hmm.
that my grandma was proud, I was there for the long haul. There
Right.
was no, "We're gonna move around." Everything that I'm telling you, I've learned over my journey.
Hmm.
And what happened was, I believe God intervened, was like, "Nah, baby, you got to get up out of here." Because I was trying to stay. I was trying to make myself fit into
Mm.
who they wanted me to be, but I wasn't her.
Yeah.
I tried. It was making me sick. It was making me depressed.
Hmm. Hmm.
It got to the point where on Sundays at 3 o'clock, I started getting headaches.
Just that anticipation of having to go back.
Who
Yeah.
wants to be in a space all the time where people don't like, love, and trust you?
It's not, it doesn't feel good. It's not healthy. Yeah.
Awful.
Hmm.
And I said to myself, because I was at that point, I was a little tired of being crazy, right? I was like, I was still only like 28, 29, right? I was still youngish. Um, why can't I make myself fit? Why can't I be like the people who were around me, who seemingly were okay being there 20, 30 years? Like, I thought this was the strangest thing. There were people who went to high school together that worked there together. Like, y'all knew each other since high school?
Right. And you're still here. Yeah.
Very weird. I told you, Connecticut is a weird place. So I digress. It was like then I had an epiphany and the Lord opened my eyes to what was around. I
Hmm.
was like, hold up. These people are not doing well. These people are sick.
Oh,
Every other week we taking up an offering for somebody with cancer. They coming in on in wheelchairs, IV bags, gurneys, carts. Everybody's sick.
oh my,
Colostomy bags. No, baby.
y'all
They
still
ain't
coming
okay.
to work? Oh no.
They're coming to work. Sick.
No.
Talking about this is a sick building. No, it's not.
No,
It's
yeah.
a stressful environment and your body cannot take it.
Well, you got to look at those, pay attention to those signs around you. Yeah. Oh,
That's when I had the epiphany. I felt like, yo, I'm in the fight for my life.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
I'm either going to stay here
Mm-hmm.
and be that,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to take a risk on myself and we're going to figure this out on the way.
Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness.
so here we are. So I left. I got a raise and promotion again, 50%.
Hey.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, I am telling you that is the quickest way to get a raise and promotion. If you ain't happy, bounce. But
Just
before you
be.
go, make sure you're getting everything you can get.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because corporate and even, the academia, they will run you into the ground and they will replace you as soon as you're
Ma'am,
gone. So take from them, like you said, those trainings, the investments they put into you, take all of that and you can use it and apply it somewhere else.
they will kill you and
Hmm.
not even send your family an edible arrangement before they have posted your job.
Listen. Hmm. Right.
And people be like, "Who was
Yes.
that?" "Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, that was the nice black girl as your picture's on the flyer." Don't do it.
Hmm. Take that
It
info,
is
make
not
it up
worth it.
for yourself. Right. Hmm. And so,
So, from there, I became a consultant, went from place to place consulting, which was great, being a
yeah.
subcontractor. And then it didn't get stagnant because I went to a lot of places. I was really fortunate to not ever have sat on the bench, meaning not have a contract.
Hmm.
I went Kaiser, I was at Cape Cod Health, I was at CVS, a whole lot of places
Nice.
on my roster.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened.
Yes.
And
And
COVID
that kind
happened.
of put the whole world on pause.
COVID happened. And my anxiety was probably at a 10 because that was the first time in my life I'd ever gotten laid off.
Mhm.
Hindsight being 2020, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have been chilling.
Right.
I would
Right.
have been
Who
chilling.
knew how long that was gonna last and just the anticipation of what to do next.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I got laid off 2 days before my birthday, which is the end of June, June 25th. Shout out to the cancers.
Hey. Yeah.
Hey. And I had a job by Labor Day.
Look at that.
So so I really could have just took my summer off and chilled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody taught me very early in life, all things work together for good, but in that moment, it was hard for me to believe.
Right. It's hard to see it when you're in it, right?
Baby.
We're having church up in here.
Woo! Right there.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. And then I was like, being a subcontractor is great,
Mm,
but like you missing out on some money.
you
So
don't.
in the middle of a pandemic, didn't make any sense. I started my own company.
There you go. Yeah.
And I have these three different things that I do that represent all the things that make me up. I have my
Mm,
IT training consulting business analyst work.
yeah.
I have my coaching and speaking,
Mhm.
and then I do my podcast.
Yes.
And that is how I ended up doing what I love. It was a long journey, and you would have never been able to tell me 20 years ago this is where I would have ended up.
Mhm.
But through every experience, I paid attention to the things that I liked, to
Mhm.
the things that gave me energy. And I said, that's what I want to do. I like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that part. And so I would encourage you, if you are in the space and listening and you don't know what you want to do with your life, pay
Mhm.
attention to the things that give you energy, the things that you're excited about doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And, sometimes when you are doing a hobby or something that you enjoy, something that you're very passionate about, sometimes that can also lead to the pressure of it, of when you have to then perform it. So like, what would you say for those people who, okay, yes, maybe I'm passionate about crocheting and I'm going to start my own crochet company and I'm putting out products, and then after a while it's like, well, dag, I really enjoyed it when I was making things for me and my sister, but now I got to make you 12 like booties and matching blankets. Like, how can people still keep that joy in these things that they do?
Ooh, I love that question because I really have firsthand experience with that in my life.
Yeah.
So we talked about the fact that I was a singer and I was a music major. Well,
Mhm.
young Candace's life was a singer in high school. Everybody knew I was a singer.
Yeah.
I won a lot of competitions. I represented my
Hey.
school on the state and the national level and won all these awards that are in my garage right now.
Mhm.
Candace went to school and was a music major,
Mhm.
and I didn't like it.
Mm. Right.
I didn't like it because it took the joy away from me. And at the time, I didn't have the language to articulate why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is different. It wasn't like this before. It used to be fun. Why does it suck now?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So I would say to anyone in that scenario, well, let me take a step back.
Yeah.
And I stopped singing for a very long time. I wouldn't sing.
Oh, yeah.
People who knew me knew that I sang,
Yeah.
but no, I didn't sing. Not in a church choir, not in a community choir. I
Mhm.
sang in my car and in my house at home. That was it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got put in the path of some people who are musicians
Mhm.
and started singing again, but more on my terms.
There you go. Mhm.
Choir rehearsals fun. Yeah, I have a voice where I could lead a solo, but I'm happy singing in the choir. I like singing in the choir.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead worship. I can,
Mhm.
I don't want to.
There you go.
So I would say if it's something you enjoy, make sure as things are being added or you make choices, you're still enjoying it.
There you go. Mhm.
So now Candace sings. I sing in a church choir for the first time in a very long time,
Okay.
but I am happily in the second row minding my business. And I'm happy with that.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to be the center of attention,
Mhm.
and I'm good with that. You have to be really honest with yourself. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why people have an issue with being resilient. That's what I talk about
Yeah.
in my work,
Mhm.
building your resilience. You have to be able to inventory yourself and
Yes.
that means being really honest about I like this, I don't like that.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that and it's not mean.
Right.
If you if you don't tell yourself the truth, how can you expect anyone else to?
Right. And it really brings up something that comes up a lot on Improper Mimi. It's like whether this is home, whether it's work, or whether you're having play and you're doing burlesque or you're doing something else, boundaries,
That
boundaries,
part,
boundaries, boundaries, because that helps you to protect your joy. It lets you, like you said, you want to be sure that you're still enjoying it, that you're still having fun. If you accept that order for 12 booties and blankets, you may not have fun. You may not have your whole summer may be shot working. You could
that's
say,
right.
I could do 2 and then go on with your life. You'll have fun doing that. You'll bring joy to somebody else with your craft and your talent, but you also will still have fun to you refill yourself. I often think about, again, pouring out all your talents, but who's refilling you? Like when are you going to refill yourself and enjoy and take that time to breathe for yourself? Those boundaries help protect your health, and we know health is wealth. So important.
That's exactly right. If you don't advocate for yourself, no one will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My goodness. I mean, listen, I'm sure that we could keep going on with all different tidbits and points of information. As we get ready to wrap up, though, I want to just let you like, what would be like any key information that you want to leave with the people to let them know, like, how do you transition? How do you change, your career, or even just like bits of knowledge that you want to leave with the people?
Ooh, I love that. Well, the key thing that I talk about in my speaking and also on my podcast
Hmm.
is resilience.
Yes.
I believe if you're going to be successful in anything, you need to be resilient.
Hmm.
At the base of that is resilient.
Yeah.
I actually created a framework to help people remember
Hey.
what they should do to employ resilience in their life. And it's called Bail Yourself Out, which is why that's the name of my podcast, Bail
Love
Yourself
it.
Out,
Yeah.
because you're going to believe
Mhm.
that you can. Everything starts in your mind. If you don't believe, then you won't.
Mhm.
You will manifest what you think.
Right.
You have to accept change as a normal part of the process. That's the A,
That's big.
because
Yeah.
life be life in.
Mhm. And if you're still
Nothing
thinking back there, you're not gonna go forward. Mm.
exactly. And the
Oh.
truth of the matter is, literally nothing happens the way we planned it 100% of the time. It
Mhm.
doesn't.
Change is constant. That is a fact.
The only thing consistent in life is change. But
Mhm.
when you approach it with that perspective, I think it's easier not to fall apart because you're like, all right,
You
we're going to have
accept
to
it.
pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
The I is inventory.
Mhm.
You have to be able to inventory your skills and your abilities, what you like and what you don't like, but
Mhm.
also inventory the skills and abilities available to you in your network.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
At the beginning of this year, my mentor, the one I didn't really like, suggested that I create a podcast.
Mhm.
Now, I can speak. I'm certainly no stranger to speaking in front of people. And as a matter of fact, I had a radio show in college.
Girl, it's all coming out. Yes.
There are no wasted experiences, right? I told
Right.
you.
It all builds who you are. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Who am I going to talk to? What am I going to talk about?
Not a problem. Mhm.
But when I looked around and said, "Yo, my cousin has a podcast. Let me ask him about it."
Mhm.
And I said, "Yo, this other friend would be really interesting to interview on a podcast. I'd listen to it.
Mhm.
And what about this friend who does that?" That
Nice.
was me inventorying the skills that were available to me in my network. And
Yes.
I definitely believe and encourage people to ask, right? Because the worst thing a person will say is no.
Right.
But if they say yes,
It
then
opens up more
you're to the
possibilities.
better for it. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then last but not least is to learn from your experiences. But then
Mhm.
I also like to take it a step further, learn from the experiences of other people.
Mhm.
I have a child. I love my child. But she is one of those people that does not learn from the experiences of other people. Like she has to do that. And it's very frustrating to me
You're like, "I
as her
have a
mother.
map for you. You could follow it." And she's like, "No, I'm gonna explore."
This is very frustrating
Mhm.
because I am that person. If I knew that you knew something and you didn't tell me, now I feel a way about you
Right. Yeah.
because you could have saved me some heartache.
Mhm.
And I think very often it is through the experiences that we should learn through, but also the experiences of others that we can build the life that we want. And that is how you maintain the resilience in your life to
Yeah.
achieve what you want to do.
That is beautiful. I love that. And you can use that bail to bail yourself out.
Bail yourself out. That's right.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, Candice, thank you so much. Why don't you tell everybody also where we can find you? I mean, we spoke about the consulting agency, we spoke about the podcast, but how and where is the best way that everyone can find you?
Well, if you want to check out my pods, we are Bail Yourself Out on all socials,
Mhm.
and the website is bailyourselfoutpod.com. If you are interested in getting a training or a change management program developed by my company, it is Alpha and Omega Consulting Inc.com. And if you want to follow me, I'm Candace with a K, like Judy with an I and Liza with a Z on socials.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I am so glad that we met with Black is Tech and that we are able to just build and bond this relationship from that going forward. And I know that there'll be more to come, where we can chat and even do different things together as well. So awesome. Thank you so much.
We definitely have to have you as a guest in the happy hour lounge.
Oh, yes, that'll be fun. Improper Mimi will be there.
Just remember, we love Jesus, but we drink and we cuss a little. That's what we do in the lounge.
We like to have fun too. So oh man. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for another episode of Improper Mimi, where we talk about things that empower women at home, work, and play. I hope you really picked up some nuggets from today's episode with Candace, where we talked about our career and resilience and how you too can keep going. So don't stop. Keep being as fabulous as you are. And remember, Improper Mimi's taking a little break because we're working on something special for you this fall. It's going to be about family. It's going to be a little different than, just being improper, but we're going to talk about family and we're going to share some things that I think will really help everyone get to know Mimi Jax a little better. So we're excited. We're looking forward to that. And you can find Improper Mimi on all socials. That's with an M, Improper Mimi. Thank you. See you guys later. Bye.